I'm nervous, like we don't be potting all the time.
The crazy thing about this is every time I get up and we start like just getting on here and talking, I get like very nervous, and I don't know why.
Yeah, I'm nervous now. I'm not gonna.
I get nervous still, even when meeting clients, and I've been doing this for a little while. So trust me, I think it's just a thing that happens.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. All right. So, welcome to this is your first time listening. Thank you for tuning in to the Message 24 podcast. And if you are a return listener, we appreciate you guys. Can't even talk. We appreciate you guys for tuning in every week. So those of you who tuned in to the poll that we did about what type of content you want to see from us, one of the biggest things that we saw was like a therapy couch episode. So our in the DM for this week is going to be the ins and out of couples therapy. So this week this is going to be our third close friends feature, right? This will be our third guest.
Yes, third guest.
Yeah, third guest. So I'll introduce our guest and then I'll let him explain a little bit about himself and what he does. So this week we have Sh'Maugn Wright MA, NCC, LCMCHA. I don't know any of that means, but I know some. I wanted to make sure I included it when I said your name. Yes.
No problem. Yeah. So again, yes, thank you again for having me up here. Again, I'm Sh'Maugn Wright, and I am a licensed clinical mental health counselor associate and a national certified counselor as well. I did my studies in both clinical mental health counseling and career counseling, so I kind of got my foot in both right now. But I specialize in both individual and couples therapy. So yeah, that's what I've been doing since I've been licensed in February. I just became recently licensed in February after just graduating last year, and I'm licensed now. And now I use a theoretical orientation called Imago Relationship Therapy.
Okay, so now we're going to move into our Center Delete segment. And this is just like a segment, like an icebreaker, basically, so people get to know you a little more, that sort of thing. So the question I have for you is, if you were a celebrity, what would be included in your rider? So if anybody is listening and they don't know what a rider is, it's basically like when a celebrity goes somewhere and they go into their room, there are certain things that have to be there, like certain snacks or drinks or different things like that. So if you were a celebrity and say you were about to go on like the Oprah Winfrey show to talk about therapy, what would need to be in your room backstage?
First off, I think I would definitely need to have my fiance there. I think I definitely would love to have her there. She always kind of gets me grounded, kind of encourages me and praises me, like, just calm down, you got this, lets me know that I know what I'm doing whenever I go out there. So I think that would be number one. I would definitely have to have her there. And I think the other things would probably be music. Music is something that literally grounds me. I can't even remember a day that I haven't listened to music. So I just feel like music is something I got to have every single day. And aside from my son, but sometimes he could be a distraction. But even if it's something like that big, I would love to have him there. But even if not, like my music and my fiance, I think they would really keep me grounded, to just make me feel more comfortable and confident before going out.
Any type of music, or is there a specific artist?
It'll probably have to be J. Cole. I'm one of those. I'm a Cole head, so it'll probably have to something like that, something that could really that'll just get me motivated and thinking, just to just kind of reassure myself. So something like for what J. Cole does for me is somewhat of a self-care for me, because like every time he drops anything, it's like I'm dealing with something in my life, and it's like it's like he always right on time. So I always just go back to him and reflect. Gives me a moment to reflect on myself. So
Got you. I love that. You want to do the second?
Yeah, I can ask my question. So if you had like a personal assistant to follow you around each and every single day, what would you have them do?
Well, first off, I'll probably tell them, make sure you got my music coming with me, wherever, if we got to bring the JBL speaker out, whatever we got to do. But let's see. That's a good question. Because I'm so used to doing so much by myself or working alone. Yeah. I can't even imagine having an assistant. So I don't know. I think just to keep me encouraged, just keeping me encouraged, like keeping me on my toes. Like, hey, Sh'Maugn, it's 2 o'clock. You know, you got this meeting. Okay, and it
Mhm.
just been somebody to keep me on my toes. I think that would be the biggest thing for me, being able to keep me on my toes and just kind of remind me of anything that's important or essential that's going on, so I don't kind of like sometimes I get overwhelmed or overbooked with things, and I may
Mhm.
miss out on something. So if they could just keep me on my toes, I think that'd be the best gift they could give me at that moment.
Gotcha. So we can jump right into our health center segment. So this is kind of where we have people send us questions that they want to get an answer to. So I'll start with this first one. Do you agree with the statement, everyone needs therapy? And if you do, why or why not?
I don't think everyone needs therapy. That's that. And I mean, I think a lot of people will benefit from it.
Mhm.
So I think only way you may not probably need therapy is if you are good with, if you have like effective coping skills when it comes to something like certain things. Like if your coping skills is to resort to alcohol or drugs or something like that, you're like, oh, I feel better. That may not be the, the best thing. So you may need some therapy to be able to kind of help push and guide you. I just think it can benefit everyone, even if you're not really going something maybe like a chaotic period in your life right now. I think it'll still be beneficial because it'll help prepare you for when things happen. We're all human and life happens to all of us. Everyone has experienced some type of stress, distress, even some type of form of trauma, even if haven't even been as bad. Even when we witnessing things on TV, like we see young black men being killed by police officers and things like that. That's traumatic for people. So sometimes people need to process though. So if you can't effectively process it and you kind of struggle with processing it with something, that's when I think therapy is like the best, one of a route you can take in order to kind of come to a point of healing. So I don't think everyone needs it because I even have a friend who has experienced. I mean, even in her childhood, her parents were already they were always engaged, I would say, with her life. So it's like she didn't really have any childhood trauma, even growing up. She just haven't really experienced a lot of trauma.
Mhm.
So for her, therapy may not be something that she may need right now, but she does see the benefit of therapy. Of like, okay, well, maybe I do need to learn to communicate better. It may not be nothing traumatic going on with me right now, but I can learn to communicate better. Sometimes maybe I don't deliver a message the way it needs to be delivered or something like that. So it can help in so many other ways other than people think, oh, if I just go attend therapy, it's just to heal my mind. But it can help improve relationships and, help improve communication with people, help you self-explore yourself. So I think it can be beneficial for everyone, but yet not everyone needs
I like that answer. And Sh'Maugn, I just want to be 100% like transparent. Um, like you've been to therapy. I've never been to therapy. So this pretty much podcast, I'm gonna be taking, I guess, a learn kind of mentality, like learn as much as I can because I've
it. Yeah.
never actually talked to a therapist, and I know we have our
Yeah.
being that he mentioned something about if you know how to handle coping, or if you're able to cope the correct way, are there any health? Do you have maybe a list of healthy ways to cope? What would be some healthy ways to cope?
Yeah. Especially on one of the things that I've been doing, especially within the last year, anyway, is working out. That's been one of the best coping skills that I have really been able to. And I think I'm a year and 6 months in now. So like as far as like consistently, I go 5 to 6 days a week, literally every day. So I mean, well, every week. So but it's been like, I mean, it's actually been amazing just being able for me to go there. Cause even when I'm stressed about something or something's on my mind, it's like go to the gym, run it off, or lift, throw some weights around, or whatever the case may be. Because a lot of times I could resort to any other coping mechanism where it's like, oh, well, I'm going to sit in the house and eat all day or something like that. But even though it's a coping method, it's still a defense mechanism. And what I teach people about defense mechanisms is they're only going to prolong your situation. They're going to make you feel safe and secure in the moment, but a defense mechanism ain't going to do it but prolong the situation. So I can sit down and eat and watch the TV and say, I'm not going outside, but I'm still going to be dealing with whatever is going on whenever the show go off or whenever the food is all, gone or whatever the case may be. So I use working out as one. Another one that I use is journaling. So one thing I started doing was I want to start writing stuff down, especially like I have like this journal here where I use this. It's called Letters to My Son. So I actually write letters to my son. So when he gets old enough, he can read these and things like that. So it helps me, helps me be able to put it in perspective for him. Like my dad was, he's strong, but he also was dealing with some things too. Maybe he has some things on his mind, so that way he'll know that it's not you don't have to always be okay. You don't always have to be okay. So I also have this journal where it's called Breathe. It's a guided healing journal for Black men. It's like a 45-day journal. I got both of them off Amazon. But yeah, I like the fact that I can just come here and just share my thoughts sometimes, because sometimes we don't feel like actually communicating with a person, but we want to still be able to get our thoughts and feelings and things like that out. So I use my journal to go ahead and get it out, because it helps me, and also helps me prepare myself. I could be mad about something and I want to talk about it, but if I go ahead and write it out first, and then by the time I do communicate, I can communicate it and send that message more effectively, because I done already, even if I had to cuss or do whatever in my journal and get it all out, it's out now. But now I can decompress a little. I'm a little bit more decompressed, and now I can send this message effectively whenever I'm ready to talk about whatever it is. So
Just talking about that.
We were.
The whole write it down before
you say thing.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of people have coping mechanisms that they don't even realize are coping mechanisms. Like when I first started therapy, I was telling my therapist, like, I cook every single day of life. I love to cook. It's something that makes me happy. So after I've been in school for 8-9 hours, I still come home and cook, and it makes me feel better. And I didn't realize that was a coping mechanism for all the stress and anxiety I had going on throughout the day until she told me. I'm like, oh, you're right. Like, I really like cooking. I love going to the grocery store, picking up my produce. Like, I really, really enjoy doing that. And I feel like a lot of people might actually have healthy coping mechanisms. They just don't know that.
Exactly. And that's what I try to teach my clients. Like, even when that's one of, like, whenever I do an assessment with anyone, that's a question I always ask. Like, what are your interests and your hobbies? Or, what are some things you're interested in? Some of your leisure activities. And then they'll start to say, well, I like to paint and I like to do this, but they may not have been able to do it. So even with these coping mechanisms, I think coping is, some of it can be like direct interventions, like where, oh, if I have anxiety, I'm going to, use a breathing technique. But coping, like you said, could also be engaging in some of your interests, which is what I call self-care. Having that self-care has been able to engage into activities that are going to benefit you, but it's not like a temporary fix as if it was maybe resulting to alcohol or drugs, food or sex or whatever it could be that helps you get out of it. But being able, like you said, I enjoy cooking. Like I'm able to get my mind away from maybe my day at work or my day at school, because I'm here cooking, I'm doing something I enjoy. So I always come up with a plan with my clients as far as to create a self-care plan. Like, and you don't have to try to stick to it. I got to do this today and do this Tuesday and do this Wednesday. But I recommend you can get a jar, put all the things that you like to do on a popsicle stick, pull one out for the week. All right, I'm going to go play basketball. Let me go play basketball. Engage in that self-care, being able to, that's what's going to be able to help you cope with a lot of life stressors anyway. So.
Yeah.
Get some gems. He didn't drop 3.
Yeah. I know I'm on the right track, because I already do the jar. I have my self-care jar and I pull it out every week. And I have to do, well, during the school year I do, because school is stressful. Like, I mean, that we've all been to college and graduated, but it's very, very intense. So I have to do that. So I feel affirmed, I'm doing it right.
That jar is, I got my jar. I have different jars for different things. Like, even if it's like, if I got a busy month and I got to handle certain tasks throughout the month, I pick out, because I don't want to overwhelm myself. This is how you kind of like control how you manage your week or your load throughout the week. So it's like, what, I got some downtime today, I'll pick from the hat or pick from the jar, see what it is I can do and knock it out or something like that. So
that's sweet. I love okay, so we found some common misconceptions that listeners actually have about couples therapy. I'm sure you've heard a lot of them. But I'm just gonna go over a few. So one of the things we heard is that couples therapy is for couples who have reached the end of their relationship, which is something I thought for a long time, but we won't go there. Couples therapy is only for married people, and then that the therapist will take sides and it'll be unfair. Um, I think a lot of this stems from people are afraid of therapy in general and they see it as like a bad thing, but
Yeah.
it's beneficial. But you're the therapist. I'm gonna let you talk more about that. So what does like the intake process look like for couples therapy and what types of tools can people gain from couples therapy?
So in my intake process, what I do is my first session is I call it my initial couple session, with my couples every time. So in my session, I automatically let my couples know that for one, there's 3 rules within my session. You have to be intentional, you have to be refrain from negativity, and you have to be consistent. So those are my three rules when they come in. So I understand that a lot of couples may come in and they may be coming in at a point where they may be a chaotic point in their marriage or their relationship. And I may start with that. But what I do is I try to build rapport with my clients first. I always want to build that rapport, try to see where they are. So my first question is, I always ask them, how did you meet? How did you guys meet? Tell me about when you met. So, because even if they had a disagreement right before coming in, that's going to kind of ease their tension a little bit. Oh, when I met her at the grocery store and she was on aisle 5 and she dropped the cereal box and I picked it, whatever. So they start going back into these memories and start to kind of remember, this is kind of why I fell in love with this person or whatever. So that's why I always start with that. But my biggest question is whenever I kind of try to see where I always ask what their goals are. But if it's a problem, if there's some problems that's going on or stemming into the relationship, I kind of like always ask both partners this. I say, what do you think your partner's biggest frustration is with you? I always ask, and I do it that way because it takes away from them being able to point the finger. So if I say, oh, Lakaya, what's your biggest frustrations with your partner? Or you can say, oh, well, you don't clean up, you don't do this, you don't do that. Then it kind of comes off as criticism. So what I want to do is I want to flip it around. What do you think your partner's biggest frustrations are with you? Oh, well, I think my partner think I don't listen, or I don't communicate well and things like that. So I try to gauge and see where they are. I get it from that. And then I ask them, is that accurate? They're like, well, yeah, that is true. Some of that is true. And sometimes they may have to alter it a little bit and really kind of go into the process. But anyway, I always get them to mirror it back. So that's one of the biggest techniques I do in my sessions with couples, especially with Imago Relationship Therapy anyway. It's one of the biggest things that we do is mirror. So when you're mirroring your partner, is to you basically want to say whatever it is your partner just said back to you. So you may say to your partner, um, you know, I get this feeling of fear whenever you don't call me. You may say something like that. Now, as the partner who is listening to this or who is receiving that message, when they hear something like that, they may want to defend themselves. Well, I call you 3 times a day and whatever the case may be. But in that moment, it's not for you to do. Listen to your partner, and that's when you mirror it back. So you'll say something like, what I hear you saying is you want to talk about the fear you have when I don't call when I'm supposed to. Is that right? Is that accurate? And they'll say, yeah. So in my sessions, I always want to make sure that my couples are feeling heard. What I do is create emotional security in the atmosphere in my session. So in my sessions, I don't deal with arguing in my sessions. I don't. A lot of people would ask me when I first got into it. They were like, "You want to listen to couples argue all day?" And at first, it kind of scared me. I'm like, "Dang, is that what I'm gonna be doing? Trying to squash little beefs in the session?" But nah, that's not. I like that Imago has a format. So if there's something going on, we use a dialogue where one person sits in as the sender, the other person sits in as the receiver. The person who is the sender is going to talk about. It could be about your light bill being high. Maybe that's the problem, and you want to have a conversation about it. So what you're going to do is have a conversation, or you're going to express to your partner the feelings that you get around the light bill being high. It's not to say where you leave the game on all day and then you're on YouTube and you're cooking all the time. this is not the time for that. We want to be able to just, because we want to be able to express what feeling we get around this topic. So when we're able to focus on the feeling and actually send the message directly, the partner can receive it better, and create, what it does is create a deeper understanding for them to be more intentional. So if you got a feeling that you have a fear, if the light bill is high, your fear, the feeling you get is fear that the lights will be cut off or something like that. You create that deeper understanding for your partner, so that they may not understand why it makes sense to you, but they want to be able to put themselves in your shoes to understand why it makes sense to you. It may not make sense to them, but I want to be able to understand why it makes sense to you. So that's why they're going to mirror, they're going to empathize, they're going to validate, things like that, to make sure that partner feels heard. And once they create that deeper understanding, then they can create, come up with a solution that makes them both feel secure around whatever that topic is.
I think it's from TV. Like you see couples in therapy screaming and yelling at each other. And I'm kind of like,
Well, do you think that's because of the, like, I'm assuming you're setting the rules. Like you said, that you have 3 rules. Is that how that kind of works? Like different therapists, they'll allow that, or they will.
Yeah, so so a lot of therapists have like different they have like different approaches. So like some of them are like, you have some couples therapists who will see the couple together, then they may see both of them individually. I prefer not to do that, because for me, my clients, my approach is the client, the individuals themselves are not my clients. Their relationship is my client, because that's what we're working on. That's what we're going to try to, we're trying to fix this. We're trying to salvage this right here. So I focus on the relationship being my client and things of that nature. So, because like you may have some where that's like, okay, well, tell me, James, tell me how you feel. Tell me what happened in the argument yesterday. And then it's like, now you get your point. You start going on and on and on. Then, a session usually lasts about an hour, and sometimes an hour and a half. If one partner takes 45 minutes of the session communicating about their side, now this other person is going to feel like they didn't get their point across. And if it's the time is up, now this person is going to be feeling left out, or kind of like uneasy, because, okay, my partner got to express themselves. The therapist only listened to them. So now I have to wait to the next session in order to even try to tell my side of the story, and anything else can happen in between that time. So I'm mindful of everyone's time. Like I don't just cut them off, because even if we go over a little bit, I'm fine with that. My thing is I want to make sure they get the work done. So with me, I'm gonna make sure that's because I have those rules set in place where I want to get both parties' side. We want to understand where Lakai is coming from. We want to understand where James comes from, because it's not going to be right if I just get James' side and don't get Lakai's side. If I just get Lakai's side, not like, it's not going to be right. It's going to feel so one-sided. And that's why some people get that misconception that, it can be one-sided sometimes. If you have that therapist who don't provide structure within the session. So me, I challenge my client, like, you may come in, you may say, well, he don't listen. I'll tell them, can you send that message in a different way? Because you saying he don't listen is coming off as criticism. So what he's going to do right now is he's going to use a defense mechanism. He's going to either try to defend himself, or he's going to criticize you back. And now it's going to be an ongoing thing of now we're still not even focused on the problem. And now you guys are in here arguing or fussing, or we're not really getting to the meat of what we need to. So I set those rules in place I just want to make sure I'm providing the emotional safety in my atmosphere for both parties.
I like that. I really do. So one of the things I've also seen, a lot of people feel like you don't need to be in therapy if you have a great relationship. Therapy is just for couples who probably need to break up anyway. But do you think it's healthy to like be in couples therapy at any stage in your relationship, or is it one of those things you should wait until you are trying to pursue marriage, or what do you kind of think about that? Like, when should a couple come in for therapy?
I think a couple should come in if at any point where you feel like this person is, you having that mind, like when you first get with someone, especially within that first 6 months to a year, you like, I really like this person. Like, this is I really like them, and I got these strong feelings for them. And if you really can see that, and it's mutual on both sides, and you guys make that commitment to to be even whether it's boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, whatever. I think at any moment it would be perfect to see a couples therapist or a relationship therapist, period. The couples that I work with, I can say maybe half of the couples that I work with are married. The other half are either in new relationships, may have been together for a couple of years, may have been together for a few years or something like that. But half of them are only married. And I I think at any point being able to really understand your partner on a deeper level is very key in the relationship anyway. Because like you said, we're used to seeing people go to therapy or see a couples therapist when there's a problem in the relationship. So I have this couple who probably just came to me about probably about 2 or 3 weeks ago. I think I worked with them about 3 times now. But they have been together for a little while. I don't think they've been together for a full 2 years. But anyway, they decided to go ahead and because they know they want to eventually be married, but they decided to go ahead and get couples therapy. So for when I did my assessment with them on my first session, my intake, I was trying to, gauge and see where some of the problems may be, or if there is any problem. So they don't really have any like problem. Like there's no infidelity, there's no financial issue, there's no major thing going on. But they just like, I want to be able to learn tools now. So when things do come up, or if they do come up, we know how to better handle them and things like that. So with mine, like, and what I like about Imago therapy is it touches a lot on childhood, because your childhood plays a really big part in how you respond to behaving to your current relationships. And it's not even just with your intimate partner, it's with your friends, your family, and everything. So a lot of that stuff is imprinted on us as children, and we bring it into our relationship, even subconsciously. You try to figure out, some people may be like, well, why my girl talk so loud, or why my man talk so loud. You never know. It probably came from their childhood to understand where, we had to talk loud in the house because there was a lot of people in here, and everybody had to be heard or trying to get their point across or something like that. But what I tell couples is to be more curious about one another. That's how you continue to, figure out where it is I guess like where your partner's wounds may be, if any. And if you just continue to be curious about your partner, learn about your partner. Like, why does my partner like to sleep on the right side of the bed over the left side? So continue to be curious about them. And that's kind of what I do with my couples in the beginning, is tell them, continue to be curious about one another. But I think at any point in your relationship, it's very helpful to see a couples therapist, because we're not perfect. We all don't know how to communicate well. We all sometimes still get very angry. And even when we get angry, it's okay to be angry. Anger is not a bad emotion, but it's how we respond when we're angry that's the key. So you may have two people who are together, and when they're mad, maybe they just shut down with each other. No one's harming each other, but they just shut down. When no one's talking. But maybe that can be something that they could work on to improve their relationship. So there's no infidelity or there's no other things going on, but just because we want to learn how to communicate better, I want to communicate a little bit stronger. I just want to make sure I'm being heard or something like that. Or even attending to a love language. I teach my couples all the time how to attend to love language. So
this is really good, because like to do that, you have to be very wise and very humble to not think, hey, I'm above therapy, or everything's going good. So why would we need
to go to therapy?
So that you saying that just really opened my eyes to be like, we definitely got to do that.
Yeah, I've been saying that's something I think we should do. I think when you have a good thing, you want to invest into it. And why would you wait until stuff is terrible before you start investing in something that you care about?
Right.
So yeah,
because like with Imago, what we teach is there's these different stages of a relationship. When you first get with a person, we call it, what we call the honeymoon stage. That's that stage where, it don't matter what your partner do, I'm in love. Like, I don't feel anything. So what we call that is you being under anesthesia, because you're not feeling anything right now. You ain't feeling nothing. But after about a year to that 1.5 year mark, that's when that honeymoon phase or the anesthesia starts to wear off a little bit. So then you start to kind of see like, why did my partner leave the cup right there near the sink instead of putting it inside the sink? You know, so stuff like that starts to kind of bother you, right? So the next stage after that is this stage called the power struggle. That's the power struggle stage. So every couple kind of experiences the power struggle. I think it's inevitable that you don't experience it. But the power struggle is all about how you work through the power struggle. This is how this is how we feel you achieve real love. So once you learn each other, become more curious, develop deeper understanding in this power struggle, then you kind of reach that real love. So that real love is when, you know what, my partner isn't perfect, I'm not perfect, but we're so intentional with one another. I'm more intentional with how I respond to my partner. I'm more intentional with how I attend to my partner's love language. I understand that my partner does do some things that frustrate me, but they also are human and have to, you know, even when we get frustrated, 90% of it has to do with us, 10% has to do with our partner. They're just showing up, you know, and they're showing up as a trigger, and we just, you know, we might get frustrated and, you know, don't know why. But again, you achieve that real love once you kind of know how to manage the power struggle, because everyone kind of gets to that point, and you just got to know how to manage it. You know, I don't believe soulmates are found. I think they're built. I think you kind of build your soulmate. So, you know, you can have three different soulmates, but if you both are being intentional with one another, I mean, you will achieve that real love. Like if I know I want to be more intentional with how I respond, if I know my partner is sensitive to loud tones, why would I come in here with loud tones speaking to them, you know, knowing that this is a wound that they have? I have to be more intentional with making sure my partner feels safe. I got to make them feel secure right now. So even if we do have a disagreement about something, I can say, hey, I would like to talk about this without, you know, the yelling or cussing or the fussing or whatever, you know, criticizing or whatever that, you know, whatever comes with that. But yeah, being more intentional is how you get to that real love.
Literally. I think that we are in an ideal situation where we are both open to, you know, going to couples therapy. What would you suggest for someone who's in a relationship and they want to go to couples therapy, but their partner is a little like iffy about it? I mean, I think it's Black people in general. A lot of us are kind of like, well, not me per se, but some of us are kind of, you know, a little bit weary of therapy,
Right,
and
right.
we need to still destigmatize the narrative around therapy in general. But how could they bring that to their partner if their partner is someone who's a little bit afraid of therapy because they think, you know, they don't necessarily need it, or
Right.
yeah,
So
or
what
in
I
it altogether.
Yeah. So what I've done in the past, I've had couples who where I was supposed to meet with both, right? And then come to the day of and maybe only one partner shows up. And I'm gonna be completely honest. It's mostly always the female that shows up. You know, it's always most, because a lot of times, you know, especially when they hear, oh, it's a male therapist or it's a therapist, period, they feel like it's someone trying to come in and tell them how to do their relationship. And that's not necessarily the case. So with my couples, I help them develop new relationships. It's not to say that your old relationship is trash, but I want to help you develop a new relationship, a stronger relationship, because maybe the other one is starting to wear off a little bit and you guys are maturing, and certain things that worked back then is not working now. So you got to be able to create new habits in the relationship. So what I would do is, like, when the woman would come in, or, you know, that one client just comes in, I continue to work with her, like with the dialogues, like the dialogues that I have this one called the Imago dialogue, which is the basis one where you literally have this conversation about anything. You could literally talk about why the sky is blue using the same dialogue, and the persons can feel heard. Then I show, like, you know, this one called the appreciation dialogue, this one called the parent-child dialogue. That's one of the most powerful ones that I have, because with that one, your partner is basically sitting in as a parent or a caretaker, whoever your caretaker was, and the one partner is sitting in as a child. The child, they're going back to their childhood, whatever age, if it's 12, 5, 6, 7, whatever, they go back there, and their partner is sitting in as their parent, where they'll ask a question like, what was it really like living with me? So then they, you know, that child can answer, well, you know, living with you, mom, was great, but maybe I didn't get enough quality time. You go into whatever that is. So what it does is create deeper understanding for the partner as to where maybe your partner always wants to spend quality time. And then you can have this dialogue and understand, okay, well, they didn't get it from their mom. So that's why it's showing up in our relationship. They want to be able to spend quality time with me. So I would practice these dialogues with the single person, Or sometimes I try to, and I always tell them, I always send them a homework as to go home and practice this with your husband, or go home and practice this with your wife, and then let me know how it goes. And I've had a good number who would do that, and then they were like, you know what, my husband said he wanted to join the next session. So then they come in, and once I grab them in that first time, I got them, because then I know I can really process, I can really do the work with them. Because if you can show an interest in it, that means you want to be intentional. You want to try to like improve their relationship. So once they come in and they actually see how the dialogue flows, like I had a couple the other day I worked. They told me, they said, we look at ourselves as great arguers, or they feel like they have, they never really get disrespectful with, I guess, arguing, but a lot of times they don't feel heard. But when they did the dialogue in my session, they were like, yeah, I got to do this every time. They're like, because any other time, we're not yelling at each other, but no one is feeling heard. But this format has really made me feel like I'm being heard right now. And same thing for the other partner. So it just kind of, once they see actually how the dialogue is and how more effective they can get their point across, I sound like that's kind of how I reel them in. And then they start to be like the other partner kind of gets more hip and like, you know what, I want to engage in this a little bit more. And they start coming, they come to the workshops and everything. So I think long as I can get one of the partners to at least practice it and be intentional. Like if they start doing the things, like if I tell them, okay, you start attending to your partner's love language, or you start mirroring your partner, whenever they say something, mirror back to them. They may think you crazy after a while, like why they keep repeating me, but I want to make sure you feel heard. I want to make sure that, I'm listening to you. It's registering with me, so I know that you feel heard at the end of the day. And after a while, they end up falling in line. So sometimes they don't, sometimes it takes a little longer, but eventually I feel like I still see an improvement with certain relationships because they are using the technique.
We also have a lot of viewers who are single people, and I don't want to like leave them out of this conversation as well. I know for me personally, and I've shared this on the podcast, I had a lot of traumatic experiences growing up. So for me, it was important to see a therapist and work through my own shit before I got into a relationship with someone else, because I don't want to be dumping all of my stuff on that person. So if there is a single person who is out here who has been like a serial dater, or they've had like a lot of traumatic experiences in their life, would you recommend them seeking individual therapy before they decide to like pursue a serious relationship?
Yes, wholeheartedly. I mean, to the core, yes. Just because, even when you have breakups, people don't look at them like this, but sometimes that's grief. You're losing not only a person, but a relationship. So, just like kind of when you lose a family member, you're not only losing that person, the relationship to them is kind of fading away as well. So I always recommend, because I even see people who are single. I see people individually who are trying to work on relationship things, like, they're trying to get back out in the dating world or something like that, but they want to process their own, like you said, their own stuff and be able to move forward. So what I do is I tell them, you can't be happy with no one else until you're happy with yourself. If not, you're going to keep depending on this person to make you happy. And when they don't meet that expectation, you're going to be mad. Oh, this person, you don't make me happy. You don't make me happy. And I have couples come in my sessions and say, well, my husband or my wife doesn't make me happy anymore. And I tell them, it's not their responsibility to make you happy. You got to find happiness within yourself. Because if not, you're gonna always depend on this person to make you happy. They may not be in the mood one day, just because they're not doing something. Here you are in your feelings about them being in their feelings when it may not even have nothing to do with you. So you got to learn how to make yourself happy. And I think being able to process, like you said, process your own shit so that you can move forward and effectively in a relationship. If you know you got trust issues, don't get in a relationship. What's the point? Why set somebody else up for that? Why should they have to keep constantly trying to break down this barrier because you have trust issues? Go figure out why you got these trust issues, work through them so that you can love this person the way they need to be loved. And in the sense, they can love you the way you need to be loved. So I think wholeheartedly, yes. Yes, if you are dealing with some things and you got some stuff going on, go seek that there. And it's not to say you have to be in there for a whole year or 2 or 3 years or 10 years, but figure out where the root of it is coming from and start working on it so the other person is not responsible for this baggage that you're bringing. That's why "Bag Lady" by Erykah Badu, "In the Bag." That's one I always want. One of my favorite songs, man, because you're always gonna carry this baggage to to somebody else if you don't process it. I can't effectively move on if I'm not processing things. So I work with couples people who have just gotten out of long-term relationships as well. And right now, and like some of them I've been in with, maybe 6-7 months where we're still processing, and they're getting better. They're actually getting better. They're actually putting themselves back out there and everything like that. So being able for them to be able to actually talk to someone other than a friend, and because you can have a friend to say, well, yeah, sometimes our friends are not the best advice giver. I don't want to say advice givers, but I want to say that sometimes it's not the best in that situation, because at the time, sometimes your friends are only going to provide comfort, and you need to be challenged at the end of the day. Because if it's my friend, by me being the therapist, I challenge them even when they say stuff like that, like I want to date, but I got trust issues. I tell them, well, you're not ready to date me. That's not you. You're not dating. You're not ready, because it's not nobody else. Because you won't want nobody to come in and you just got with a person and they trying to figure out, well, why you didn't answer the phone, or why you didn't call me, or who was you with, who voices that in the background, and then you're gonna push somebody away by doing that, and then you're gonna try to figure out, well, they just didn't care about me enough or whatever. They was doing sneaky stuff. I felt like they were being sneaky, when ultimately you kind of sabotage the relationship yourself. So yeah, definitely seek that help if possible, before getting into a serious relationship anyway.
Yeah, I agree.
That's something I didn't even think about either. People talked about people who have been in long-term relationships that didn't go the right way. You might have lost a lot of yourself, a lot of your interests, a lot of
Yes.
you could have brought a lot of baggage from that.
Yeah.
Probably need some therapy.
You gotta if you've been with somebody 5 years and then you just like you have to, I think you have to like retrain your brain to like be by yourself. If you've been with somebody for like that's a traumatic experience.
Exactly. That's an adjustment that you had to, especially if you're used to talking to this person every day, waking up with this person, going on trips or dates or whatever, and then all of a sudden just stops because you guys don't see eye to eye. That's why it always kind of feels like a grieving process. So when people experience a heartbreak, if you look at grief, it's kind of the same way, where they not eating, feeling depressed, down mood, don't want to be around anyone, missing the person, or whatever the case may be. It's very similar. So being able to process it yourself so that you can effectively thrive in whatever relationship you get in the next time is going to be key, so that you don't bring that baggage with that. Being able to process your relationship. What I do with my couple, I keep saying couples, with my individuals like that, I try to help them get to a place of, again, like you said, finding themselves, and also trying to help them. Like, I ask them, where do you think you contributed to the relationship going wrong? And I challenge them, like, you may have said, maybe you was making comments about something that they didn't really feel comfortable about, and you didn't see nothing wrong with it, but they did. So I challenge them to see what part did you play in to the breakup, or to the disagreement, because we don't want to take these same things into your next relationship, because guess what? Same thing gonna happen. Same as that thing. It may last a little longer, it may not, but the same thing is gonna happen if you don't process where you went wrong first. The other person may have done 10 times worse than you did in the relationship, but also acknowledge your faults in it as well.
That is good. It reminds me of something. Some successful people say that, like, you get knocked down, not get back up until you figure out what happened and why you got knocked
In the first place.
Right.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. I think since we're still like kind of talking about the individual now, this has been a conversation amongst like myself and some of my friends. Like, as we've gotten older, your friendships start to look different. Like, we're not down the street from each other. We're busy. We have families. We're working. And to some degree, we're kind of grieving a part of a friendship that we don't have anymore. How can therapy help someone navigate that type of space? Because like you're still friends with somebody, but the relationship looks completely different, and it's gonna look different because we're adults. So like, how can therapy help you come to terms with that?
And that's why, and that's I know I keep talking about Imago Relationship Therapy, but what I like about it is because it's not just for intimate relationships. But with I have literally had sessions with a mother and son, adults. Like, you know, he's an adult, she's an adult. But I've
Mhm.
had, so I use this format for any type of relationship. But just being able to create that deeper understanding for each other. And I like what you were saying, like, you know, over time we do grow, and you know, we do get in relationships, and we have children, and we have jobs, and we're in school. So the same things that we were doing back when we were 17, 18, 19, we can't do that anymore. Just, we're not saying we can't, but we don't have the time to, you know, because we got bigger fish to fry right about now. But um what some of my friends, what I love that they do is, even if we don't get to talk to each other all the time, we attend to each other's love language, because your friends got to do that for each other as well. You got to do that for your friends, and they got to attend to yours. So if yours is quality time, maybe we can't spend quality time every week, but we can set a Friday out the month, then, just to make sure that we go to the coffee lounge and get something done, or get some work done while we still communicating, or whatever the case may be. So we're still doing that. But I think therapy will be able to help you come to terms with understanding the importance of the relationship, for one, and, you know, engaging, kind of seeing like, how is it serving you or benefiting you? Because sometimes we hold on to relationships that don't serve us or don't benefit us, when it comes to friends as well, just like in relationships. So if a person, especially as a person, isn't understanding of that, sometimes you just got to set those boundaries. You have to set those boundaries with people. And I tell people, like, even mentally, like, you know, sometimes we have a friend, and I think we all have had a friend, or sometimes we maybe even been this friend where you call in and you want like some advice, or you want somebody to, you know, something, you want to tell them something. But I tell people, set boundaries with your friends as well. It's just like you got to do with everybody in your life, because you may not be in the mental headspace to accept or receive whatever it is whatever it is they're going through. Maybe they're dealing with some boyfriend girlfriend drama, and right now you got, you know, maybe you're trying to figure out how you're gonna take care of this, and something going on in your relationship, and you may not be in the mental headspace to do that. So even when friends come to me with stuff, sometimes I ask, like, do you want comfort or solutions? I go ahead and ask right in the beginning, do you want comfort or solutions? Because
Yes.
sometimes people get mad. Well, I just needed you to listen. I didn't need you to tell me all of that. I know. Okay, well, I'm gonna ask. Do you want comfort or solutions? So we're gonna go ahead and get straight to the point. You know, we're gonna do it, because again, we got to set those boundaries. If I'm not in the headspace, then I'm just not in the headspace. You know, if someone's getting upset because I'm not calling, or you're not calling me, I don't have to answer my phone for you. You know, so if I don't want to answer the phone, I don't have to answer the phone. I'll talk to you when I can. But setting those boundaries, for me, it has been, I think, one of the most effective things that I've done when it comes to even friendships or relationships. Just setting those boundaries, because I'm my own person, so I still need my own personal me time, regardless of who is in my life. So.
Mhm. That's great. That's great. Time has flown by, so we are almost up on time.
Oh
But I
wow.
wanted to, oh, I'm sorry, go
Yeah,
ahead.
that was quick. That was quick. I
Yeah,
didn't
that's
realize
what I'm saying. I'm like, I looked at the clock, like,
it. Dang. My,
already? It does. When we're potting, like, it just because it's just talking. Like, when you're talking to people, time just really,
yeah,
unless it's
yeah.
a horrible conversation, then time will drag. But like, yeah.
Right, right.
But I wanted to make sure that I left a little bit of time at the end for you, just to tell people where they can reach you, where they can find you if they're interested in your services. You know, you can share that here. And if you have like a link or something, email it to me and I can put it in the description of our
Okay.
episode too.
Okay. So yeah, I work at two different agencies. I work for one in Durham called the Overcomers Counseling Center. Um, I don't even know. I think it's 2410 Presidential Drive in Durham, North Carolina, 27713. I'm in the process of making me a business page for therapy, and also get some flyer. I'm in the process of having some flyers made as well. But I also work at another agency called Turner's Counseling and Consulting in Raleigh. So you can also come and receive services there. So the only thing that may limit services is if I know you. So I can't counsel people that I know. It's unethical for me to do so. But even if I don't know you on a personal note and you know of me or something like that, you can still reach out for services and things like that. But yeah, those are the two agencies that I work for. And I provide both individual and couples therapy, virtually or face to face. I kind of do it all. And I'll also be at UNC doing career counseling. I just got a position there as well. So I'll be
Congrats.
at UNC doing some career counseling. So I'll be all over. I'll be from Chapel Hill to Durham to Raleigh to Cary. So I'll be all up and through North Carolina trying to provide these services. So
The people need it, and they need Black therapists, and they need Black
yes,
men
yes.
in this. I think you are only the second Black male therapist that I've ever met. Like the
Oh
rest
wow.
of them are Black women. I haven't met like a Black male therapist. You are literally the second one that I've met. So like you're a unicorn, and people need you. They need to. Black men need to be able to speak with someone who looks like them, who can relate to their experiences, and there's certain shit they don't have to try to explain to you because
Right, right,
you're a Black man, so you get it
right.
anyway.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what I like. That's one of the areas. Like I don't limit to just sessions with men, but I have a specialization with working with men, especially men of color,
Yeah.
because I'm trying to bring them into the sessions, and the men that I have brought in that I work with individually, like they have really learned a lot, and I want to be able to let these men know that you don't always have to be okay. Like you can have a weak moment. It's okay to talk to somebody. It's okay to process your feelings or talk about your feelings. It doesn't make you weak. You can do this and still be a man. I think the most masculine thing you can do is take care of your mental so you can take care of yourself.
Yes. Yes. I love it. I do. So thank you. You are very busy, so I really appreciate you taking the time out to come on our little podcast. I really
Yes.
No problem. No, I mean anytime. I love to come up here again, man. I would love that, honestly. I would really
Oh,
like
well, I definitely will keep in touch.
Yeah.
It time flew by really, really quick. So
It
yes,
did, it
that
did.
would be great. But like I said, thank you to our listeners. And this episode will be available next week, so I'll be sure to make sure that you have it.
Yep. All right. I can't wait to see it.
All right, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your day.
All right, you do the same. Thank you guys for having me, for
Of
real.
course,
Thank
of
you.
course. Bye.